Hey everybody, Dave Clark, aka the Pattern Guy. Welcome to another Chalk Talk. Okay, today we're going to be talking about fillets. I was doing a job the other day with the this Y-pipe job. Okay, so I got to re-pour these plastics. I had to change this a little bit. Okay, so one of the things I was saying is I had to lift this little part up here. All right, so in doing that, basically what I did was, you know, here's my board. Okay, here's the pipe. All right, and there's the Y piece coming out. Okay, so what I did was I lifted this up about 0.10 of an inch here, so I got a little gap underneath there. Okay, so when I pour plastic mold around there, I don't want plastic getting underneath there. So what I'm going to do, instead of like basically doing a fillet where, you know, it would be round, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some wax. All right, here's one of the types of fillets. All right, this is wax, a wax product. Okay, this is just I think 00. That's a 30-second. It'll make a 30-second, but it's just this is number 2. It's 1/8. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to show you on the. I'm not gonna be able to show you that. But what this does, a cross section of this looks like, it basically, it's 1/8 of an inch. Okay, it's got 1/8 of an inch little cup in there. Okay, and this goes all the way up to, I believe they do like 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so this smaller stuff, it's just tubular. All right, so the reason you use wax fillets is going to be for something for temporary. So like if I do a master pattern in that, I'm going to send it over to the match plate shop. Instead of using the other media you can use, this is what I use mostly, is Bondo. I use Bondo to make fillets. Or the other thing you could do is use leather. Okay, now the leather fillets, let's take one piece out. Okay, the leather fillets, this is 3/16. Leather fillets pretty much look like this. Okay, so the leather fillets are for jobs that are, you know, they're going to be around for a while, more substantial jobs in that. And these are, you can, they're for bigger jobs mostly. You can put these things in really quick. I mean, this goes really quick. And the other part about this too, with these, is you use glue to fasten these on. Okay, so it kind of strengthens your pattern a little bit too. But like I said, that's for jobs, like bigger jobs that are going to be around for a while. Leather is very expensive. I haven't bought this and such. I got so much of this stuff. I haven't bought this. Something like this, you know, back in the day, yeah, it was like 50 bucks way back when. So, I mean, it does cost a lot of money. Okay, they used to do another one I haven't seen in years and years and years, and I've never used them either. We used to have wood fillet at Arrow, but you know, we never really did anything big enough. That's another thing. It's for big jobs, more substantial jobs. But mostly what I do is I use a Bondo the most, because with this stuff, it'll strengthen the pattern also. But with this stuff, it hardens so quick. You know, I can put this on and 10-15 minutes later, I'm seeing it and I can, you know, put a coat of paint on and I'm done, you know. If you use other things, like when I was making that machine piece for my buddy Dean for his bandsaw, you know, he suggested, yeah, he knows nothing about pattern making, so, you know, he wanted to fill it in the corners. He didn't realize that, you know, basically you have to have a fillet in the corner. So he's like, well, what are you going to do? Take some silicone caulk or something, and you do that, you're going to be waiting for a month of Sundays for that to dry, the paint over, the paint's going to be falling off, all that stuff. So this stuff, it just, you know, it just goes so quick, you know, hardens really quick. So basically what a fillet is, okay, when you do a pattern, okay, you have a piece that's got like a right angle on it, okay? We got draft on here, okay? So basically you can't have a right angle corner in there, okay? Because what happens is when the metal solidifies, it shrinks, and you know, all the molecules start getting together. Well, there's, you know, they're pulling this way, you know, they want to shrink this way and this way. What happens is, you know, you end up tearing right there because, you know, that metal, it's wanting to flow, you know, so it actually, that'll pull that corner apart. So that's one of the reasons why we do fillets, okay? So there's another couple reasons. So what happens is when you basically put a fillet in there, right, this has, you know, you're kind of pulling this way, okay, in that way, all right, so that there's some strength in this corner right here. Okay, so that's one of the things what happens, right? So it prevents tearing. The other thing is, all right, I keep on dropping this thing here. I should put this thing on a string, I think, here. Okay, so the other reason why we put fillets in, let's just do this, okay? So we have a square corner like this. All right, so when I ram this up and I'm, you know, packing this full of sand, right? I mean, I'm packing all the sand into this corner, all right? And it's packing, it's going this way and that way. So when I go to take the mold off, you know, I got much more sand gripping onto that pattern, okay? So, you know, if we put a nice fillet in here, you know, it's just coming straight up off of, you know, this surface instead of rubbing in down here and that, okay? So it's for moldability also, all right? And another reason too, okay, just say I got my riser over here, I got my riser bowl, there's my in gate, okay? So another reason why you do it, okay, so I got all my metal coming in here, all right? If this metal starts hitting this, you know, sharp corner there, that's gonna start wearing the sand down, okay? So if you have a nice, you know, rounded section, when that metal starts hitting that, it's gonna deflect and distribute the molten metal a little bit more evenly in that. So there's several reasons why you want to use the fillets. It's not so much you want to, you pretty much have to use the fillets and when you're making the patterns, okay? So like I said, there's several different types. We got the wax, we have the leather, we have the plastic. I showed you how to use the plastic. I'll be doing it, you know, numerous times, okay? The leather, I haven't done a leather job. One day we'll do something and I'll show you how to do the leather. I want to do, like I said, I could do a whole thing on the leather fillet stuff, okay? So real quick here, I'm going to show you how to do a little wax thing. And actually what I'm doing with this job here, I don't need a fillet in there, but I got to fill a crack in. So this is another thing you can use the wax for. I just got to make one mold off. Well, I'm going to make a couple molds off of it, you know, no big deal. So I got to make a couple molds off of this. So I'm just going to use wax instead of using this. All right, and what's going to happen is I'm going to actually, I'll show you how to do it in a minute, but I'm going to use this fillet ball. Okay, this is the smallest one I have. All right, these you can get them at Freeman. You can make your own. I think I showed you. I got that set right here. Getting dusty because you don't use them too much. These my dad made as an apprentice, you know, years and years ago. So if you have a metal lathe, you know, you can go ahead and make your own. If you have source of ball bearings, you know. The thing is with these though, is they're specific sizes too, okay? So, you know, that's something you want to do. Then when you're doing the plastic fillets, or Bondo. Okay, I made a bunch of these things. They're just, I found a sheet of stainless steel sheeting, and I just, you know, took my dividers out, made some radiuses on there, cut these things out. Here's one. I use this one a lot. It's got like a flat end. Okay, that's just, I'll use this too when I'm putting, I can fill holes in with this stuff. Okay? You know, bigger ones, I had a sheet of aluminum, made them out of aluminum. Okay, you could make your own. Another thing when you're doing the fillets, another way to make it easier when you're doing it. Another thing what I do is, and I keep on telling you, start making your own tools and that. We used to, you know, let's just keep on the fillets here. All right, these are old files, okay? Instead of throwing these old files in the scrap bin, I made scrapers out of them. These are scrapers actually, but what happens is when you say we're rubbing this wax fillet in here, okay? Let's get rid of this stuff here. Say I'm running this wax fillet in here. Well, what happens is, technically what you want to do with this wax is you have to heat these balls up, okay? And you get an alcohol lamp, okay? This one I bought, the first one I had, it was a homemade one. It's actually made out of an oil lamp. That was pretty cool. I wish I could find that. I gotta look for it. I know I got it around here someplace. But anyhow, I ended up buying this one from, this one I bought from Freeman. It's got an alcohol lamp, science. You can get them, like a lot of science websites, you can get them for, like, put the Bunsen burners underneath. Those are usually glass, so it's not that great to shop. But you know, whatever to build, you know, you can put the alcohol in, okay? You can use a candle. The only thing, if you use a candle, what happens is, and when you burn the candle, the carbon comes off, the black carbon comes up off of it, and it gets all over your fillet balls, and then you're wiping it, you get your carbon in your wax, okay? So that's not a good thing. So if you're doing a job, like if I'm making a master pattern, all right, that's gonna go to a mold shop to get the plate shop, a match plate shop, okay? What I do, and a lot of people don't do it, the wax fillet, basically, when you put it in, if you don't melt it and really rub it in, what happens is you get like a little step kind of deal. Now let's do it this way. All right, so if I'm like this, okay, what it is, yeah, and especially the bigger fillets. Okay, sorry about that, guys. You guys had to go out there. So, all right, so back to this. What happens with these wax fillets, you get these little, you know, this is exaggerated, all right, but this will actually come out in your casting, especially if you're doing aluminum. Aluminum, you can have scratches in your paint finish and it's going to come out, you know, it's something else. This also happens with leather also, okay? So when I'm doing a master that I'm going to have a match plate made into, okay, what I do, and then also what happens too, like with this this wax, it's supposed to be an 1/8, but if you put it in there, all right, it's not really an 1/8 of an inch, okay? So you get your 1/8 of an inch ball, okay, that's actually a 1/4, you know, your radius is 1/8, all right? So to do a true radius, if you do a true radius, you really heat this ball up hot, okay? And when you're rubbing that in, you melt that wax and you make it that true radius, okay? A lot of guys will just take it and they'll heat this up somewhat, okay? And they'll rub it, and like I said, you'll get, you know, that right there. That's not the true radius, especially for, you know, when you're doing like a master for a match, you know, that thing's got to be right there, you know. So with this wax stuff too, well, here's another thing. This is where the scrapers come in. Here's another scraper I did. This one's kind of bigger. This one that's an old cutoff tool, okay. So you know, learn how to do that kind of stuff too, right? So I used old files for that. Use old, bigger files, make real nice turning tools, believe it or not. They stay pretty sharp, you know. Okay, here's another thing. I found this in some guy's toolbox I bought years ago. It's a piece of a 6-inch little scale, okay? So I've got a couple different radiuses on it. Well, this one's straight right here, and I'll show you. I use this a lot, and I'll show you why in a second. But what happens is, okay, back to this here. So if you do the true radius, really heat those balls up, okay, and you mash that in, you won't have that step, okay, you won't have that step, all right. What'll happen is you'll have a true radius here, okay, but what happens is you'll get an excess of wax out there, okay? All right, so you'll get like some bulging wax out there, okay? Well, you can't have that either, right? It's got to be perfect. So what you do is you take your scraper or whatever, you know, you can scrape them out. You can make them so that they're a little bigger than the radius that you're doing, and scrape those out really good. You could take some radius gauges. I don't like doing that with my radius gauges. Those are for, I use them for precision things, you know. I use them for measuring mostly in that, right? So this, you'll get some excess with your wax. These two little lumps got to be scraped off. All right, so you can do that. You can take the side of a chisel, side of a knife, you know, whatever you got, okay? So when you do the plastic Bondo ones, the same thing's going to happen too. You're going to get an excess of an overflow of plastic on there. With the Bondo, what I do is I get it to the point where it's just starting to harden. It's still a little elastic, you know, like rubbery, and you can peel it off. You know, you can use the scrapers, or, you know, a chisel or a knife or whatever, so you can, you know, scrape that little bit of excess off, okay? So what I'm going to do today real quick, I'm going to show you, I got to get making these molds on this job, okay? So like I said, what happens is I actually have, there's a gap underneath. I don't want plastic to get underneath, all right? But I don't want to have a fillet. I don't want to have a fillet on here either, all right? So all you do is, you know, you start your, be careful with those too. That homemade one I had, it was an oil can. It had a little hole in it for vent. You gotta have a vent in there, you know. And it was funny because I had dripped a little bit of wax on that vent hole. It closed up, and I lit the thing, and poof, it exploded. So just the wick came out, and a bunch of alcohol and flames. But anyhow, I'm gonna get my little 1/8 inch. And this stuff is really good for, you know, filling the cracks around. I usually do this before I pour plastic on pretty much anything. Like if this was a core stick, I was making a plastic core box, I always put a little bit of a wax fillet around here, okay? So this one doesn't take, it's dirty too. This one doesn't take much to heat up, okay? So all you do is, with this one, and I want this one hot too, because what it is I want that wax to push underneath, okay? So I want this nice and hot, okay? Again, you just rub it all the way around. This one's a little too small, I think, to show you like a close-up, okay? And I really don't know if I have anything I'll see if I can find something that I can do a bigger one on. I mean, it's like I said, we're going to be doing these over and over and over, so I'll show you. But, you know, just go all around this thing. Okay, now like I said, I don't want to fill it in. I don't want this to be like this, all right? So I want this to be square. Well, let's do it the way it really looks here, so nobody gets any All right. So basically, there's my parting. All right. Now here's my pattern. All right. So I got a little bit of a gap underneath the one end. Okay. So I don't want a fillet in here. All right. When I make my mold, I want a nice sharp corner. All right. Just like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tool here, all right, my busted 6-inch scale. Okay, I'm going to heat this up. This is a corner, it's got a perfect 90-degree corner. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape that wax back out. Okay, watch your fingers, it gets hot. All right, see, I just scrape the wax right back out. Okay, but the wax is underneath, okay, so I've got no gap underneath, so there's no way for the plastic to get underneath there. Okay, so once I pour this, we'll be golden. All right, but that's one of the things that we use the wax for. Like I said, if you're doing something quick or whatever, I mean, we fill holes in with wax and that, but it's not permanent, okay? Yeah, that's what I use that for, filling holes in mostly. So once I get a job where I got, you know, something big that I'm doing, I'll show you guys how to do the leather fillets, but pretty much the same thing. You just, you know, you put some glue on it, and use your fillet ball, fill it in, trim the ends off with a sharp chisel, sharp knife or whatever. When you do corners, you can shape it a little bit, so that's a little bit of a trick. I'll have to show you that, but you know, mostly, especially, you know, guys just starting out, you're not going to use the leather fillets, like I said too. It's they're horrifically expensive, and they're for bigger jobs and something you're going to be long lasting. If you're just making one casting or maybe a dozen castings, you know, invest in some wax, you know, get some wax. It's really easy. Anybody can learn how to do it. Thing with the wax though too, you have to have the fillet balls, some kind of a fillet ball to put it in. You got to have your alcohol lamp, and you can use a torch too. Before I was missing my one alcohol lamp, I was using a Burns-O-Matic torch for a little while, but you know, you're wasting a ton of gas doing that stuff. So I think those alcohol lamps are $30 or something, maybe something like that. So you know, get you your alcohol lamp. Like I said, my favorite go-to all the time is that stuff. It's 24 bucks right here, and that I can do lots of patterns with that, you know. So I'll show you how to do more of these down the road too. I've already showed you how to do them, but like I said, this is I think the best, because it's, you know, like I said, you wipe that fillet in, you know, 10-15 minutes later, you can put some what do you call it on there, paint. Okay, too, with the wax, all right. So when you do the wax, you don't need to glue, all right. Just say we're putting this 1/8 one in here, all right. So you put it on bare wood, okay. You put it on bare wood, you can put it on plastic, you can put it on metal. It's not gonna stick that good on metal, but put it on bare wood, put it on bare plastic, and that you don't need to glue it. You do not need to do anything with this. Just take your fillet ball, rub it in, scrape the excess off, okay? Then, this is another reason why we use lacquer. Lacquer will paint over there and it will stick to it, okay? So you just put some lacquer over the top of these when they're done to seal them, and to make them too so they're not as sticky, all right? You know, if you just put that wax, fill it in, take your pattern to your foundry, start molding, you know, the sand's gonna stick to the wax. So you need to put some kind of a coating over. Like I said, we use lacquer for that. Okay, so you know, that's touching on you know, doing some basics on some fillets. As we do more jobs, I'll get more specific and show you, you know, everything, exactly how to do stuff and that. So hopefully this weekend we're either going to go up to the foundry. I'm getting way behind there. I'll get you going a little bit more on that cylinder. I got to get going on that. And as I'm doing these, I'll show you how we're going to mount and gate these when we get that far too. So as long as I have the camera in that, I'll, you know, make sure I start recording this stuff, show you guys how to do stuff. All right, so we're gonna cut it short right here. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section. And that if you have not subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. Like I say, I want to be around for the long haul on this thing, so I need some subscribers out there to keep this thing going here. So with that, everybody have a good one out there. Stay safe. We'll see you later.